Hello and welcome to another tutorial. This time we are going to create a Circle Wars game. So I'm going to start off by giving it a title at the top. And I'm going to delete the standard cat that starts every screen by double clicking or right clicking. And I'm going to delete. Alright, so we're going to create a circle to start this game off. So we're going to use the paintbrush tool to create a new script. And we're going to choose the circle option. I don't just want to outline it, I am going to fill it in. So I'm going to choose this one, and I'm going to choose my color here. Now if I hold the shift button down, I can make a perfect circle. Otherwise, if I don't hold it down, you can see it does it more oval. So hold your shift button down and create yourself a circle there. I'm then going to go over into my centering option and just make sure that I've got my circle centered. I'm going to call, this is going to be our player button. So I'm going to over down in the information of my script, I'm going to name it the player. The objective of this game is to have the player collect friendly circles, which will be the green circles we'll create, and there's going to be enemy circles that are going to take away points. So that's how this game's going to work. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this one here. I'm going to duplicate them twice, and as I said, we're going to have some green circles, which are going to be our friendly guys. So when you click on your player 2, you can rename him as your friend. They will be the friends. Now we're going to just go into, we want to click on the fill tool so we can change the color. So choose which color you like. You don't have to use the same colors. Okay, there's a green. And for the third one, this one will be our enemy, so I'm going to rename him as the enemies, and we're going to make the enemies red. So it's still on my fill tool. I'm going to choose a red and fill that in. So now I've got 3 colored circles. This is going to be my player button, my friends, and my enemies. So we're going to start coding some scripts now. So we're going to start with our player script. So make sure to get out of your costumes and go back to scripts. Okay, the first thing we want to do is go into the events and start off our script with the when clicked. Now this game is going to be keeping score based on how many of the green circles I can collect, and points are going to come off for the red. So what I want to do is I want to add in some data, a data score. So I need to make a variable in the data and add in a score. So we're going to set the score to 0 at the start of the game. And then what I want to do is I'm going to create a forever loop so that my circle will follow my mouse pointer. So I need to add in that motion that he's going to follow that mouse pointer. So he's going to go to the mouse pointer there. So when I hit run, now you can see that my player ball is following my mouse. Just going to stop that now. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some scripts to our friends. So I'll go ahead and click on your friends so that your script for that one opens up. And again, start with your first event of when clicked. So we're going to add in a forever loop. And this time I'm going to add in some motions. So I'm going to have the ball point in the direction, but I'm going to point it in the direction of, well, I want it to go towards, I'm going to have it random actually, so we're going to add in a random, pick a random spot for it to go. You might change this later on, but for now let's just give him a random location between -180 and +180. And we'll have them repeat that. So let's throw in another loop in here where we repeat that, say 25 times for now. And each time we'll have a motion. Let's have him move forward. So move forward 10 steps. And as you can see, when I hit play, it goes off the screen. So just like in a previous tutorial, we want to make sure that our motion senses those boundaries. So if it reaches the edge, it's going to bounce back. So now we'll just try that again, and we can see that it's staying in those boundaries. So random locations, moving forward 10 steps, and just bouncing around if it hits the edge. All right, so now that we can see what happens there. What we're going to do next is we're going to make a few clones of this guy because we want a few enemies. So rather than have multiple scripts and just copy and paste and have to change each one of them, we're going to go into the control option and we're going to choose to create a clone of myself. And put that in, attach that at the bottom. So now I'm going to run the project again, and you can see that it starts to copy itself. What we want to do is start another script in here so that when that clone starts, I'm going to choose this one here. So I've created a clone. Now when that clone starts, I'm going to change the looks of it. So I'm going to go into the looks and I'm going to set it as a ghost. What the ghost is going to do is just make it transparent. So it's going to be lighter in color. So I'm going to choose set this one. It says set color effect to 0. So we're going to drag that over and change the color to say ghost. And we're going to set that to 50. Let's add a control to repeat that. So let's add a repeating loop. Let's repeat that, say 300 times. Should give us more than enough times in this game. So when that happens, let's add a motion. We're going to have those friendly greens point towards our blue one, our player ball. So we are going to choose the point towards. Oops, wrong spot. I want that inside my loop there. So we want that to point towards the, not the mouse pointer, but my player ball. And when that happens, we'll have a move forward. I'm not going to move 10 at a time, that'll be too fast. We'll start with 1. So once that's repeated 300 times, which I think is more than enough, we will then go into our controls and we will delete that clone, which is down at the bottom here. So just to show you what that looks like when it starts cloning itself, you can see it's more of a transparent color in there now. Alright, next up we are going to also add in our last part for our friendlies, and that's going to say what happens when those green ones touch our player ball. So we need an if-then statement. So let's go ahead and drag that repeating loop inside after he moves. And we're going to say, well, if he touches my player ball, so let's go into the sensing options. So if he touches, I'm going to change this to my player ball. Then we're going to change the score. We get a point because our whole goal is to touch the green ones and collect a score. So we're going to go into the data again and we're going to change the score by 1. Now, once I've done that, so once my green ball touches my green one, I collect a point. I'm gonna hear a sound for that. So I'm gonna add in a sound. Now we'll just drag over the pop sound. I'm not gonna bother changing that right now. You can go in and into your sounds if you want to change that. So you can either record your own or you can go up into the sound option, hit your library and choose a different sound to change that. But I'm just going to leave it there for now. Alright, so once I've touched the green friendly ball, I've scored a point, a sound is heard, then that clone needs to disappear because I've already got it. So I'm going to just go in and delete this clone. So let's run that again and see how that works. So you can see that when I touch those clones, I get a point. Doesn't make a difference to get the green, the solid green one, because that's the one that's making the clones. So, and you can see my score up in the corner changing as well. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is start working on our script for the enemy clones. So go ahead in your sprites and click on the enemy, and we're going to start a new script for that one. So again, start off in your events tab and drag over the when clicked. Controls tab will add our forever repeating loop. Very similar to our last script. In fact, let's do that a different way. Another option you can do is from my friends. I'm going to go back to the friends. I essentially want all of this same information. I want the enemy balls to go randomly. I want them to repeat, move forward. I want them to bounce on the edge. And I also want them to make clones. I want all of this one too. So rather than have to find all of that again, I can click on the top one, drag it over top of the enemy, and do the same thing with the other one. And now they will both be in this. So if I click on it, both of those scripts are in there. It looks like you've only got one, but they're actually just one on top of each other. So double tap and so that we can clean that up, and it will move it aside, and you can see if there was any leftover pieces. And I tend to like them up and down, so I'm going to move that over there. So now we've got the script for the enemy as well. I can hit play. I didn't have to do a whole lot more, and I'm going to collect those green ones. But I don't want to score points for hitting the red ones. Those are the bad guys. So we do need to change just a little bit here. Instead of scoring a point when I hit the red one, because I'm in the red script, I'm going to take away points. So you can take away as many points as you want. I'm going to start with taking away 3. And rather than have the same sound, let's have a sound that notifies us that we've hit something bad rather than something good. So this time I am going to go into my sounds and go to the library here, and I'm going to choose a different sound. Let's see, which one do we want? Let's crash. That's not bad. I think I'll go with the cymbal. So when you've picked a sound you like, highlight it so that you've got the box, and don't forget to hit OK. From here we go back to our scripts, and then I can have a drop-down menu which will now show my other option which I can choose. So let's run that again. You can hear the popping sound on the green ones I get. You can see my score adjusting. They're all kind of trying to follow me because that's the way we set it. But if I hit a red one, you can see the new sound and my score goes down as well. So that's what we've got so far. Now we can also add a score to how many points do we need to get to win the game, or how many points do we need to lose the game. So to do that, I'm going to go into my player script, and I'm going to add an if-then statement. So I'm going to drag that under there, and I'm going to choose my operators. So I want to have a value that is greater than, and I'm also going to choose one that's less than. So we're going to do two different ones here. So I'm going to start with the greater than. So I'm going to choose if my score is greater than 20. So I need to also pick from the data that score variable. So if my score is greater than 20, then I win. So to show that I win, I'm going to go into the looks, and I want it to think something. It's going to pop up. I want it to think a victory, or you can put you win, or type whatever you want to show that you are successful at getting that number of points. So should you get the right amount of points, you win, and then we can go back into controls and we can stop the scripts. We don't need to stop all, we just need to stop the script. So use that drop down menu to change to this one. So that's if my score is greater than 20, I win. Now I also need an if-then statement to say what happens when I don't get 20. So again, use an if-then statement, go into the data and drag over that score variable. Oops, actually, sorry, before I do that, I need my operator, and this time I need that less than statement. Now I can take that data variable. So this time, if my score is less than, let's say, negative 20, I got too far in the negative, then this time I'm going to go into looks and have it think defeat, or you lose, or game over, however you want to do that. And just like the other one, if we lose, well, we need to stop that script. So drag in the stop all and change that to just the script. So now let's run that again. I'll collect some points. Oops, getting attacked by red. I'll just go and get a bunch of ones. So it's continuing to go, but I can't move my ball anymore. I've been defeated. So that works good. We can, set a timer on this as well if you want to add a little bit more competition. So what we would have to do is go into the timer options, which are in sensing. And I'm going to choose at the bottom somewhere here, there should be a reset timer. There it is. And we're going to drag that one just after our score starts. So, so I'm going to reset the timer, and I'm going to have to add another code line at the bottom here too. So another control. Actually, sorry, it'd be another data. This time I'm going to drag in this one here, and rather than set score, I'm going to set the time. Now I don't have a time variable here, we've only made the score, so we have to make another variable first. So after you've dragged in your set score over to the bottom, go into make a variable, and this time just add in a time variable. Okay, so now I can drag that, oops, sorry, not drag it, now it should show up in my drop down menu there. So I can set time to, I want my timer. So now I would go into my sensing options at the bottom here and choose the timer. So if we run that script again, you can see this time clock now running. And I'll try to get some green ones. Now if you find that your game is too hard, too many of them are following you around and you never win, which is not fun, we only want a good balance of winning. A good way to fix that is change the sizing of the balls so that you earn more points if they're bigger, or and you lose points in the same sort of manner. So we can add in a script to add in that variable to change the sizing of that. So let's go ahead and do that. We're also going to have to give instructions, but we'll do that in just a minute. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go back into, not my player ball, but my friends and my enemies, and I'm going to want to do the same thing on both. And that's when my clones start. What I'm going to want to do is, above my set them as ghost, I'm also going to want to set, well, you could set a random color actually if you want to change the colors, and you could also change the size. So maybe we'll do both. So let's go into our looks, and we're going to choose the set color effect. So let's add in that, and that way they're not all going to be the same color, and we can have them change color randomly. So again, in the operators you can have them pick randomly. So let's make them from -30 to +30 and see what kind of colors that gives us. So let's just start that, see what happens. Okay, I don't see them changing colors. What did we do wrong here? Oops, I see what I've done wrong. I changed it on the wrong one. It needs to go into the set color. I somehow managed to change my ghost, so let's put that back to 50 and try that again. Okay, so now you can see that some are a little bit lighter in color than the others. Some have a more of a yellow tinge to them. So you can play around with those colors and you'll see that it has quite a big difference. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to go into the looks and I'm going to change the sizing of them to be random as well. So I'm going to go to change size underneath that as well. And this time again, I also want the computer just to pick randomly those sizes for me. So we'll go -30 to +30 and see what happens there. Alright, so there's a small one, medium one. So you can see the sizing changing now as well. So let's do that on the red ones as well, because otherwise they get a little bit hard to escape. We can also we could change the score as well based on the size that of the ball that we're popping or collecting. So what we're going to do there is, rather than change the score by 1 down here, we're going to choose changing the score by the size. So we're going to choose that from the looks and in here, and we're going to drag over the size in here, so that makes a difference on our score as well. Now in the enemies, we're going to do that as well. We're going to change it by size, but we're going to want to subtract that sizing from 0, because we want, if it's an enemy, we're going to be taking away points. We don't want those points to be positive. So let's repeat a couple of those scripts. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the color a little bit and the sizing of the two. So let's go into what am I looking for? The set color effect, and let's make that random. Let's again go -30 to +30. And let's also change, go back to your looks and change the size as well. So we're going to choose the change size. Again, pull out a random and go to -30 to +30. So remember, this time again, when we change score, we want it to be negative, but this time we're going to take away from 0 because we want those to be in the negatives. So we're going to take 0 minus our score. So we're going to go into, 0 minus our size. So depending on the size, that will affect how our score changes. There. Now, because our score, if I hit play, you see how it went to victory already, because I'm getting, my scores are changing, my scores are changing much faster because they're affected by the size. So rather than have, I want to change the amount that I need to win or lose by. So I'm going to go back into the player. And right now I've only got the score set to +20 and -20. So we're just going to add a couple zeros on there. And let's just go from +2,000 to -2,000 and try that again. And I've got nice color changing. Remember, the goal of ours is to just get the green ones, the varying different green shapes, without being hit by the other ones. So now I've got a bit more chance of winning because they're not all big red ones. I'm able to escape while they chase me. Whoops, that was a bad one. It's getting a little harder. Okay, well, you got the idea. I thought I'd try to win here, but I will stop it. So that's the idea. You can play around with that a little bit more. We're going to do one more thing though before we finish this off, and that's we're going to give directions so that whoever's trying to play your game, they know what the objective is or what they need to do. So we're going to create a new script with those directions. So down here with the paintbrush option, I'm going to go to paint a new script. And I've already on the fill option. I'm going to choose a background to show up at the beginning of the game that's going to give directions. So I might as well just go with pink. I do like pink. And we're going to choose the text option. And I'm going to type in what the instructions for my game. So you can choose a color that you want for your instructions. And we are just going to write you are the blue circle. Move using the mouse and be quick. Try to touch the friendly green circles. Each one gives you 1 point. Avoid the enemy circles. Enemy red circles. Well, actually, they've been changing colors. So let's go avoid the colored enemy circles. Which basically are all colors besides the green ones that we want to collect. Each one you touch gives you points based on its size. And same thing actually up here because we did end up changing that. So each one gives you points based on size. We ended up changing the score. So we had score more than 2,000 to win, and score less than minus 2,000 and you lose. Let's just okay, one thing I think I forgot to mention, which we haven't actually done yet, is we're going to have to make a script for this. We don't want this to be on the screen all the time. So I'm going to write in press the space bar to start. Now you can't see what I just typed there because it's not on the screen. So if you use the select tool, you'll be able to highlight your square and try to move it up. So if I can't squeeze it all in there, I'm going to have to adjust my text. Let's see. Let's go back into text and just put in, maybe I'll take out the be quick part. Oops, what am I on here? Let's just go back here. Ah, I didn't mean to do all that. Let's redo that. And it doesn't want to let me type. So, how about I just thought there would be an easier way here. I'm obviously missing something. So I'm going to change my instructions altogether. And we're going to start down here. You are the blue circle. Move using the mouse. Collect points by touching the friendly green circles. Avoid the red enemy red circles. 2000 to win. Score less than -1. 2000 to lose, and you lose. Press the space bar to start. Okay, now let's just make sure that that is centered good. And so again, we want to go into the scripts now because we have to still give this a script. So what we're going to do is, again, with the events, start when clicked. When the game starts, I want this to show up centered. So I'm going to go to the motion and choose to have it go to an XY value of 0, center of our grid. And I want to go into looks and have it show right out front. So I want it to come out front and I want it to show. And it's going to stay there until I press the space bar. So I need to go into the control and tell it to wait until I do that. So it's going to wait until I hit the sensing and I press the space bar. So I'm going to key space is pressed. And once I press that button, I want it to hide. Now I'm going to have to also add this into my player, actually all 3 of those circles as well. So I need to add in, I'm going to go to the player script, and I'm going to have to also add in that control that tells it to wait until the spacebar is pressed. So we're going to add that one right at the top as well. When the space is pressed. And we need to do that to the friends and the enemies as well. So wait until space is pressed, and lastly on the enemies, we'll wait until the space is pressed. So if we hit play now, you can see that it centers it for us. So the instructions are there for whoever wants to play. And we hit the space bar, it'll disappear, and I can start collecting those green balls and try to avoid all those colored balls. So that is the logistics of the game. You can speed up how fast the balls are moving simply by moving the number of steps. So if the enemies are moving too fast, you can slow them down by changing this, maybe put it to a 5 or something like that. Or if you want more friends to show up to collect points faster, you can speed up their steps as well. So those are just some options for a bubble game, or a circle war, I should say. So if you want, you can add a backdrop to this by going to the stage backdrop, just as we did in some of my other tutorials there. But you might find that that gets too distracting, or you can just have a general color in the backdrop if you prefer. So if I wanted to, I could just go into the backdrop, choose the paintbrush, and click on the fill button and choose a color. Hopefully one that's not too distracting to all of your bubbles that you have already that were going to be showing up. So maybe I'll add that in just before I leave you guys today. I seem to be on the pink theme, so maybe I'll try that. Just to make sure it doesn't interfere with the colors that are coming up. Well, I think that looks pretty good. So there we go. Anyways, that is Circle Wars. Hope you have enjoyed, and until my next tutorial.